So if you are a mock draft enthusiast, be sure to tap in to the live stream as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel to ensure that you don't miss out. So with that being said, Headley, all right, let's get into your mock draft. Of course, we talked about Drew's last week. Very, very different mock drafts. There are a handful of similarities, but for the most part, very different lines of thought here. And I think that makes for good content, and I'm sure our audience will appreciate it. So let's get started. Let's get started with the Houston Texans at the top. And you have them selecting Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. Now, again, no big surprise here. This is actually the same selection that Drew had for the first overall pick going to the Houston Texans, considering the fact that, quarterback, it's obvious the Texans need it. They'll have their pick of the litter. They may go in a different direction, but for you, Hadley, for Drew, for me, all of us here at Couch Potato General Manager across the board, it's a consensus. Bryce Young is quarterback one, and it's really simple. What do you specifically like about Young, Hadley?
He plays his best ball in the biggest moments, in the biggest games. His poise, his ability to always be under pressure. You said earlier, the right nervous system. He's just a quarterback that can extend plays, make big plays down the field. And the thing I like about him the most is when he does extend those plays, he's never really looking to run. He's looking down the field. He's trying to find his weapons. And the job he did this year in Alabama, without all those big name receivers, it was just terrific. I know they lost some games, but his play, really picked up from last season. Just his ability to raise the level of people around him. And when you go to the Houston Texans, I'm not sure what they're going to do at receiver next year. I'm not sure Brandon Cooks will be there. They still have Nico Collins, but he's going to have to raise the level of a lot of playmakers around there, and he's the guy to do it.
All right, let's move on to the second overall pick. And you have the Chicago Bears selecting edge Will Anderson from Alabama. We've talked about Will Anderson quite a bit, and ultimately what would happen to his draft stock, I think, particularly the way he's finished this year. Of course, he's had a solid year throughout the season. Not the huge counting numbers that he did have a season ago, but certainly made an impact week in and week out, and I think he finished strong, particularly here in the Iron Bowl. Will Anderson landing in Chicago, of course, they have question marks along their offensive line. Why'd you opt for the edge rusher?
You need that face. You lost Roquan Smith. You traded Robert Quinn. I know Justin Field needs weapons. They're probably going to address that later on in the draft, offensive line, but he's just the best player on the board right now. Him or Jalen Carter, they could go either way, but I like that edge rusher. You're pretty much drafting another Khalil Mack. It's just the power he plays with, the intensity, he's disruptive. I know you said he didn't have a big season like he did last year, but still double-digit sacks, still tackling for losses. He's still producing. Yep. When he entered the draft, entered last season or this season, he only could go down because of where he was. You can't, from number one, you only could fall down. So
correct.
Yeah, I have no issues with Will Anderson. He's a baller, and I think he'll be the face of the Chicago Bears defense.
What do you think, Drew? Are you leaning towards Will Anderson being the first non-quarterback off the board in this draft?
I don't know, man. Every week I kind of change it up, man. I'm thinking Will Anderson this week, Jalen Carter next week. It's one of the two. It just depends on how that team views that player, and I can't fault them for going for either or. Because both of those guys are going to be big-time playmakers, going to contribute immediately. But I'm starting to lean towards Jalen Carter only simply because it's a straight line to the quarterback, man. You know what I mean? So,
quickest way to the quarterback.
Quickest way to the quarterback. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I certainly understand. I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with either player. The Bears, obviously, you want to do what you need to do in order to outfit this roster with the weapons and the supporting cast in order to support Justin Fields. We've seen flashes of brilliance, the athleticism. You can see that he's becoming more confident as a passer, but it's not built around him yet. And he has more development that he has to go through, obviously, more maturation as a professional quarterback. But you're almost compelled when you're staring, Jalen Carter and Will Anderson on the board, you know what I mean? And you have your pick of the litter. It's one of those things where it's like, you're just going to draft the best player available. You need good football players. That still remains. And of course, the Bears, although they have some interesting pieces, Headley mentioned it, Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, you've kind of lost some bite in terms of your front seven. So either player goes a long way. In this case, Headley opts for Will Anderson with the 3rd overall pick. Headley, you're going with Jalen Carter. So obviously we talked a lot about Will Anderson and Jalen Carter potentially going with the 2nd overall pick. Carter doesn't have to wait long here. He ends up in Seattle using the pick that they received in the Russell Wilson trade. Seattle's making out like bandits. Of course, they had an excellent draft class in 2022, and you follow it up with Jalen Carter out the gate. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Yeah, it could be the highest ceiling in the class. It could be the best player because the talent is real. Last season with that Georgia defense had all those ballers, but Jalen Carter, big number 88, always stood out. It's big, slippery. I think his hands are elite to disengage from blocks, and he's very athletic. He could get to the edge, being a big guy. So, yeah, he's just hard to deal with all the time. Kind of reminds me a little bit like Chris Jones in Kansas City, something like that. He had that kind of impact on the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, with Poona Ford's contract expiring, of course, Ford is clearly outperformed the fact that he was an undrafted free agent. I think this is a match made in heaven. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, if Carter goes before Will Anderson, I'd be compelled to go Will Anderson with this pick, even though they have some pieces already in place at edge in Seattle. But this is perfect. I don't think this could work out possibly any better, particularly when Geno Smith has acquitted himself the way he has. It doesn't force your hand as far as selecting a quarterback. You can go best player available at this juncture, and with considerable draft capital remaining, you can still go and get a guy if you're intrigued, if there's a guy that you really like at the quarterback position. All right, with the 4th overall pick, another defensive playmaker here, another pass rusher, guy who's going to affect the passer, BJ Ojulari. You have the Detroit Lions selecting him. Of course, they went with Aiden Hutchinson last year with the 2nd overall pick. You're doubling down. You're a big fan of Ojulari. Why is that?
I think he's the best pass rusher in the class. We talked about Will Anderson getting after the quarterback, but the moves BJ Ojulari has, the first step, can dip, bend, use his hands, attacks the quarterback. And as the game goes along, he just gets better and better, and he's just so hard to defend. I know Lions fans, they don't want a quarterback. BJ Ojulari, baby. A lot of people not talking about him being a top 5, not even a top 10 pick. But I'm telling you, man, this guy is the real deal. He could get after the quarterback. You put him next to Aiden Hutchinson, it's a problem, man, because Detroit, they lose a lot of close games, blow a lot of leads. You need guys like that, Ojulari, Aiden Hutchinson, to get after the quarterback once you get that lead.
Drew, your thoughts? Do you think this is a misuse of this draft capital, considering what they've done, considering what's on that roster, or are you in favor of Ojulari here?
No, I'm in favor of it. That defense needs some star power, needs some sexy, needs some flash, needs some dash, and this guy would be perfect opposite Aiden Hutchinson on that defense. Again, we can talk about the quarterback position. I know some Detroit Lions fans, they want that quarterback, but Jared Goff ain't losing y'all football games. Right. I mean, it's that simple. He's not losing you football games. You don't have enough on the defensive side to win, and you're almost winning games. You know what I'm saying? You lost a lot of games you probably should have won, and maybe you won some games you shouldn't have won. I don't know, but it's been a lot of close games, and I think continue to add to the defense can only make you guys better, because offensively, I mean, you look at the offensive line, they're ready to go. Quarterback is not a problem. Running back is not a problem. I think is it Williams?
Jameson?
No. The guy that's taking all the carries, bro, because I got DeAndre Swift, and he's taking all the touchdowns. Jamal. There we go. Yeah. Jamal is, I mean, they got 2-3 good running backs. Receivers have actually been a surprise. So listen, and they're about to get your boy Jameson. So defense is the problem. So defense, let's load up. Defense.
No, and Jake makes a great point here, as you can see in the comments. I think you're in a unique position, considering how poorly the Rams have played this year. Obviously, this is the Rams pick. This is the pick that they get in the Matthew Stafford trade.
Yep.
You can go best defensive player on your board here because you have a historically bad defense. They've shown flashes. I think there's some individuals to be excited about. Of course, Jeff Okuda turning the page, Kirby Joseph, the young safety, making plays, Aiden Hutchinson, of course. I'm missing my guy, the linebacker at the second level. I think it's Malcolm Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken. There's some players. McNeil, the defensive tackle, if I'm not mistaken. There's some guys to be excited about, but they haven't come together as a unit, and they have to get better. They need more horses, right? So go get the best defensive player here early, right? And then if you are so inclined, the opportunity may very well present itself for you to get a quarterback that you really like with that second first round pick, or perhaps add a guy in day 2 who may not necessarily have the first round billing, but offers some upside and perhaps some more playmaking ability if that's what you're trying to get to as far as your quarterback is concerned. I think Jared Goff has played well. I think over the last 3 to 4 weeks in particular, even when the box score doesn't reflect a huge game, it's the little things. It's the protecting of the football. It's getting out of bad plays. It's extending plays in certain instances. The ball is coming out quickly. He's decisive. He's reading defenses. Like, this is the maturation that we had expected, not the regression we saw when he was in Los Angeles most recently. So I've been impressed, and I think the fact that he's playing well really opens up a lot of your options. Again, if you love a guy, go get him. Go get him. At the quarterback position, go get him. But if you're comfortable with a couple of different options, I agree with Headley here. Go bolster that defense. All right. Moving on. 5th overall pick. We mentioned quarterback. Headley has the Carolina Panthers, who obviously are in need of a quarterback, selecting CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. We talked a lot about Goff. You actually see some similarities between these two quarterbacks, Headley.
Yeah, man, he excels in the pocket. Not Bryce Young, but what he does in the pocket, it just flashes of greatness, man. His arm talent, the subtle movements, the pocket presence to step up in the pocket, look off defenders, the arm talent to throw to anywhere on the football field. He possesses all of that. So, I like it for Carolina. It'll be interesting to see what coach they bring in. I think an offensive-minded coach maybe, because I think the defense is ready to go. You get CJ Stroud right here, maybe get a receiver later on in the draft to go with DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall. And I think they could make a push, because CJ Stroud, I think he's just going to do exactly what they need him to do in the right offense, man. He kind of reminds me of think about Tua this year. Tua, he's a pocket quarterback. He doesn't really extend the plays like that, but in the right system with the right weapons around him, Tua's balling this year. So I think CJ Stroud can do similar things.
Just distribute it, yeah.
Like a point guard. He's like a point guard out there.
Absolutely. Drew, I know you have some concerns about Stroud. One in particular. Why are you not quite as bullish on CJ Stroud?
Well, Headley said it, man. It's listen, I don't need you to take the 3, bro. I don't need you to take the jumper if the layup's there, the dunk's there, right? It's not necessary. And when the grass is green and you can see it, go get it, man. Like it's that simple. And in the league, that high percentage shot, that low percentage shot only gets lower because people are that much faster, that much quicker, that much stronger. So, I need him to be able to do that. I think he's a first round pick, right? I just think there's a player or two better than him in terms of the position.
Fair enough. All right. Moving right along with the 6th overall pick. Headley, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll give away the 7th overall pick as well. The Philadelphia Eagles selecting Myles Murphy, the edge from Clemson. And you follow that up with first offensive tackle off the board here, Paris Johnson of Ohio State, going to the Arizona Cardinals. Tell me a little bit about these two picks and the landing spots.
Yeah, Murphy's a physical edge. He could get to the quarterback. He has athleticism. He's long. I wrote in my post, he kind of reminds me a little of Cleveland Farrell. Played at Clemson also. Which he's been a bust, so it kind of scares me a little bit. But the more I watch Murphy and how you got after the quarterback, because I'm watching the whole Clemson line. You got Brisset, you got Tyler Davis, KJ Henry, and Murphy's been the most consistent guy getting after the quarterback and what he does in the run game also, because the Eagles, although they're dominant on defense, they could get a little sweet against the run, especially when Jordan Davis wasn't there.
Right.
So you got an edge that could defend the run, put him next to Jordan Davis, and I think the Eagles will be set, man. it is getting richer, man. Embarrassment of riches for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Paris, man, it's offensive tackle one. CPGM, we've been saying it for a while. This guy made a move from guard to tackle, and he did it effortlessly. He has athleticism. He got some bullying him also. That was one thing I was looking at. He has some dog. He'll drive guys into the floor. I think he just checks all the boxes, man. He's my offensive tackle one.
And I'd like the record to show that both Drew and Headley considered Paris Johnson the top tackle in the class, even before Olafashino decided to return to school. As talented as Fashino, and obviously there was an acknowledgement of the ceiling that Fashino has, right? That he could end up being the best. But Paris Johnson, from a technique standpoint, from a athleticism standpoint, across the board, he checked all those boxes, and the move from guard back to his true position has done him wonders and really bolstered and solidified his draft stock as a potential top 10 pick. So with the 8th pick in your mock draft, Headley, you have Jordan Addison, your top receiver, landing with the Green Bay Packers. Now, of course, the Green Bay Packers have made a long habit of avoiding the receiver position altogether. In the first round, they like what they do from a scouting perspective and being able to find guys who can come in and make a difference, perhaps not right away, but develop those players in day 2 and day 3 of the draft. You're saying all bets are off here, and you're going with Jordan Addison as a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I know Jake might not like this pick. I saw a tweet the other day saying, why are people mocking Jordan Addison to the Packers? But hey, after missing the playoffs, after missing Devontae Adams, you might want to have a change of heart, man, and put some wide receivers around there. I know they drafted Christian Watson last season, a deep threat, but I think Jordan Addison, this guy, last season in Pittsburgh, you saw the vertical prowess, you saw the yards after the catch ability, but this year at USC, man, that release and that route running, I think that really stands out with him. I think he's a complete guy. The Biletnikoff winner last year in that loaded class. I just want to remind folks of that because some people say he's not wide receiver one. Quentin Johnson is on some people's boards, but I think Addison's the total package. Yeah, it would shock me too, Jake. But
it would.
They got to do something, man.
Yeah, it would. I like the idea of Jordan Addison with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson kind of flanking him. I really like the idea of that. I think that can develop into something very formidable. That's a headache. That's pick your poison, right? Whomever's playing quarterback can look across, scan the defense and just pick whatever matchup that they like under those circumstances. It may be a little early for people's blood on Jordan Addison. That isn't the case, obviously, with CPGM Headley. And certainly, it may be early for the Green Bay Packers considering what they do historically. But I agree with you. They need to continue to add pieces on the perimeter. There's some question marks along, either side of the line of scrimmage as well. Don't get me wrong, but certainly they need to bolster their receiving room. Randall Cobb, he's been solid, but that time has passed, right? Of course, I think they moved on from Amari Rodgers. The Sammy Watkins experiment, my guy, he looks like a shell of himself. He looks like he's hurting to move. It's just not good. I think collectively we've maintained this at Couch Potato General Manager. You should push your chips all the way to the middle of the table, right? With Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, particularly as he's gotten later in his career, we go all in. We don't half step. We go all in. And if you don't go all in with that guy, what are you trying to do? What are you setting yourself up for? You understand what I'm saying? We're talking 3 years straight conference championship, right? Didn't have enough to get over the hump. It's because in a lot of instances, to me, you didn't push your chips all the way to the middle of the table. You know what I mean? So certainly going to be people who don't necessarily agree with this pick, but I don't hate it. Jake has a few more comments for us. Obviously, Gutekunst being the GM there, there's a profile, athletic, a size profile that they're looking for here, right? You know what I mean? That plays a role in the conversation, and Jake also mentioned that he hopes that they change their ways. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I think it's time for a change. Absolutely.
Let me say something real quick to that, because sometimes what happens with GMs and coaches is when that is out there now, everyone knows that's how you draft.
You're predictable.
You do. It makes
Yeah.
you predictable, and
Sure.
so now people can play to that when it comes to the draft. Oh, we might be able to wait a player or two because we know XYZ for this particular team or these particular teams, they don't do this. When the player they're passing up is actually good. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make sense. And again, every player, every receiver that the Packers have don't need to be the size that they need to be. We've seen it, and it's not working right now. It's not working, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about Addison that I love, man, is he's where he's supposed to be, right? And he's super reliable in terms of his hands. So why not? I don't, you know what I'm saying? I just don't understand.
I think that's a great point. Before we move on to your next couple of selections here, Headley, in your mock draft, I think that's a great point. You've been doing things a certain way, and I understand having conviction in your approach to things, right, in your philosophies. But if it's not getting you over the hump, right, particularly when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback under center, and you're just having that struggle, and one of the things outside of special teams and the run defense in particular, those have been eyesores, but just having that option outside of Devontae Adams, consistent option. Not, a couple solid players have come through, but in terms of consistency and being able to strike a little fear into the opposition, they just haven't had it. They haven't had it. So, I think I'm with you, Drew. You need to break tendency here and address it. And regardless of whether Rodgers is back next year or not. Next up, with the 9th overall pick, Headley, you have the Las Vegas Raiders going with Peter Skoronski. I am very much understanding of the selection. I also do not want to see Derek Carr as a starting quarterback in Las Vegas moving forward. I know that there may be some complications associated with that, considering that that's probably the reason why they were able to acquire Devontae Adams, and he was willing to agree to an extension with the Raiders. But I've seen enough from my perspective, but this is probably the more responsible draft selection here. You follow that up, round out your top 10 with Tyree Wilson, whom I believe we're going to have a lot of conversations about in the coming months.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about Derek Carr. He hasn't looked good this season, but they dealt with a lot of injuries. New head coach, new system. Let's get him an offensive lineman to protect him, because he needs protection. Derek Carr to find all of those weapons. So Peter Skoronski, one of the best pass blocking offensive linemen. I'm gonna call him an offensive lineman for right now, because there's some people saying that the hand size, he might make a move into guard.
The length, the arm length.
The Raiders need help. The arm length, they might make a move to guard, and the Raiders need help everywhere across the offensive line. So it doesn't matter if he's a tackle or a guard. They just need somebody up front to protect Derek Carr. And I think the defense is really pouring Las Vegas as well. So maybe later on they could address that defense. But for right now, let's give Derek Carr one more year with some help and better offensive line play.
All right.
And then Tyree Wilson, edge. Yep. Yeah, this guy's shooting up the boards. I think he probably improved his draft stock more than any other player, man, because he dominated this year. The production is there. The size, 6'6", 275 off the edge. It's just nasty, man. They got Bryce Young earlier. Maybe they address wide receiver later, second, third round. But I like what they did last year on defense. They drafted my guy Jalen Petrie. Also Stingley out there.
Christian Harris.
You got Desmond King still.
Yeah. You
got Christian Harris on the second level. It's just that front four. I know Jerry Hughes is still out there, but that guy can't play forever, man. But so let's get some new blood on that defensive line, and let's get after the quarterback in Houston.
We've talked about Tyree Wilson much earlier in the season, and of course the momentum as far as his draft stock was starting to build, right? And there may have been a little hedging. Earlier because there's still a little rawness to his game. But when you talk about traits, I mean, that is what modern contemporary scouting is about identifying the coveted traits. Like we mentioned with respect to Jordan Addison and whether or not he fits the archetype that they're looking for at receiver in Green Bay. NFL organizations, front offices are looking for players of a particular build, of a particular athletic profile. And Tyree Wilson, in all likelihood, is going to check that box for most NFL teams, if not all 32. So even though there's still some development that needs to happen as far as, the football IQ aspect of things, like you said, he's producing and he certainly plays and looks the part. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he finds his way into the top 10, be one of the first handful of defenders selected in the 2023 NFL Draft. Moving along in your mock draft here, Headley, a couple more selections, actually a few. Let's go 11th overall. You have Jacksonville going cornerback with Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, followed by Pittsburgh Steelers, Osiris Torrance, offensive guard from Florida. That surprised me. I like the pick, but it surprised me in terms of how early we went Torrance here. And then Brian Brzee, the really talented defensive tackle out of Clemson, landing in Detroit. So you're going back to the well-on defensive side of the ball in Detroit.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez, Drew and I, cornerback one. We talk highly of him every single week. The size, 6'2", 200, ball skills, the movement ability, play inside, outside, zone, man, press. He can do it all, man. He showcased a lot of ball skills this year also. And is this a lot to love? He checks all of the boxes. I know Jacksonville, they might need the offensive line help too. I consider the offensive line right there, but just the talent, man. The talent of Christian Gonzalez was too much to pass up here. And, it can help Duval in the back end. Because I kind of like what Jacksonville has done in the front seven, the defensive line, and the linebackers, like what they've done the last couple of years. But I think that back end needs a little bit of help. Pittsburgh, Osiris Torrance. Yeah, you said it might be a little early, but every single draft, interior offensive linemen go a little earlier than people expect.
Sure.
It's not the sexy pick, but it's definitely what the Steelers need.
Right.
Najee Harris hasn't been able to get over 4 yards of carry in his NFL career. And we need to run the ball, man. Let's get back to the Mike Tomlin way of playing defense and running the football, being physical, helping Kenny Pickett and that offense out. And then Detroit line, Brian Brzee. Earlier, we went and got B.J. Ojulari. I'm going back to defense again because we talked about the Lions earlier. They blow leads, man. They blow a lot of leads. They lose a lot of close games. I want that defensive line to be the closer for this football team. And with Brzee, Aiden Hutchinson, and B.J. Ojulari, you might have one of the best defensive line units in football.
Drew, your thoughts on those three selections?
Yeah, you know how I feel about the Gonzalez pick. That was in my mock as well. We're going to go ahead and just check.
Oh, you had him to Jacksonville too?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know. So, wait, no. I had Porter. I had Joey Porter in my second corner. Okay. I had him go to Jacksonville. I think that's what it was. But yeah, Osiris Torrance though, man. I think it's over 300 some snaps, almost 400 snaps. Didn't give up a sack this year. A guy coming from Louisiana. Over in, I think it's the Sun Belt or something, some other conference that's not Power 5, comes over, steps up, plays SEC, and plays well. And he's coming from a team or an offense that likes to run the football. And Haley spoke about trying to get Najee the football and getting over that 4 yards of carry or getting to 4 yards of carry. And we got to protect Kenny Pickett. So I think that's an outstanding pick for Pittsburgh. And then Brian Brzee, you said it. Guy causes I don't know if he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of sacks, but I think he's going to be a high productive line of scrimmage, discriminator, displacer, just a lot of disruption up front. I think that's what he's going to be, man. So
I like him. I like the discriminator. I want a discriminator in my interior defensive line. You feel me? If he not, getting upfield, your traditional 3-tech and effective in pass, I need him to be a discriminator up front. I'm with that. All right, let's move on. The 14th pick in Headley's mock draft, we have Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, very talented quarterback.
What's going on here, bro?
Yeah, absolutely.
My guy.
We're gonna give Headley space to explain himself. I think Penix Jr. has helped himself a lot. There's no question about it. I certainly wouldn't be shocked if he were to slip into the bottom half of the first round. This is the top half of the first round. There certainly is a need in Indianapolis. The names like Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, assuming he declares, those are probably more popular names to perhaps be the quote-unquote surprise. I don't think it's going to be a question with respect to Will Levis. Just the hype around him is palpable. The play doesn't necessarily match it, but that's another story for another day. But Michael Penix here, Headley, he's effectively quarterback 3 for you. Why is that?
What not to like, man. He got the arm strength. He gets the ball out of hands quickly. He get that rhythm offense in Washington. He can look off defenders. He got that beautiful touch on the deep ball. I think he just checks a lot of boxes. He is my quarterback 3 behind Young and Stroud and the Colts. They need a quarterback, man. You can't just keep getting guys like Matt Ryan. You know,
Carson Wentz.
Matt Ryan was the MVP.
Phillip Rivers.
Carson Wentz. Man. Let's get a young guy. Nah, Ellinger, yeah, he's out of there too, man. Let's get a young guy with a strong arm that can spread the ball around to Pittman and those receivers, man. Because, yeah, I think the Colts is probably the team that needs a quarterback the most. Maybe other Houston, Carolina, but I think the Colts is a team that they're just a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away from doing big things. So Michael Penix Jr., man, let's get him.
No, so obviously there's no trade scenarios here in this mock draft, this iteration of your mock draft. You mentioned something, and it leads me to believe should the Colts be really aggressive about going to go get their guy? Should they try to force their way into that, top 5 or so in order to acquire one of the heralded quarterbacks here? Well, what's your thought with respect to that?
Yeah, if they could, they're going to have to give up a lot going from 14 to probably inside the top 5. They probably have to get inside the top 5 to maybe get a CJ Stroud, because they're not going to get Bryce Young, but they could probably trade up to get CJ Stroud. Yeah, I'll be aggressive if I'm the Colts.
Is that Ballard over there, the GM?
Yeah,
it's Ballard, right? Yeah, I don't. He's that's not his MO.
He might be on his way out though.
He says, I'm gonna fire all my guns. I'm gonna fire everything. I'm gonna try something here to. I mean,
they say Jim Irsay has been really hands-on, having a lot of conversations behind doors. I mean, that's part of the reason why he brought in Jeff Saturday. You know what I mean? Like that's not a GM move. Bringing in Jeff Saturday to be the head coach or the interim coach is not a GM move. That's a Irsay move. And I know the reports and all the tea leaves are suggesting that Jim Irsay wants to go quarterback. The question is, how aggressive are you about going to get them? They may play themselves into the top 10. Right, but does that put you in position to get the guy you want outside of perhaps Bryce Young? Right.
That's because I know Colts fans they can't stand Ballard in terms of his what's the word I'm looking for? He's not aggressive when it comes to the draft, man. He just kind of lets things.
He's opted for proven, quote unquote, proven commodities. I say that loosely. Because my feeling towards Wentz, but Matt Ryan, a former NFL MVP, has led a team to a Super Bowl, right? Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, right? Those are proven commodities. Although they were at the tail end of their careers and their physical ability had dwindled substantially. Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is one of those teams that's kind of equipped to be in the playoffs, man, and make a run. Just. Quarterback position has just kind of been
quarterback.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Achilles heel.
I mean, you thought those guys would work out with everything that they have around them. Just the boys are old,
right?
And one don't know his limitations. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what do we do? It's just. But Penix here, bruh, that would be crazy. Or trading up to get one of the other guys. Hey man. Let's get it. Let's go. Take a shot.
Let's take a shot on
it. Or they could trade down and get Penix later. And
draft
capital.
Yeah, I think the Colts, one way or the other, need to be aggressive about either going to go grab their quarterback or to add more draft capital. Right? Play the value game. If you don't think there's a huge disparity between quarterback 2 and quarterback 4, right? Then you can absolutely trade down at that juncture. You know what I'm saying? If there's a wider gap, then you need to be more aggressive. You absolutely need to be more aggressive because the Colts should be able to compete in the AFC South, right? But the Jags are going to close that gap. The Titans, as long as they have a healthy Derrick Henry and they're playing defense, are going to be a tough out. Houston now has their quarterback in tow with Bryce Young. You know what I mean? And they have some young pieces. So they could be pretty formidable here in the next couple of seasons. So they've missed their window effectively. They've missed their window. They were ready to go. They boast one of the best offensive lines, which hasn't played particularly well this season. But over the last several years, that was kind of the issue, right? They couldn't keep Andrew Luck upright. They couldn't keep him healthy. They've had that. They had the league's NFL, rusher. I think Jonathan Taylor, obviously, he had his share of injuries this season, but he's one of the best ball carriers in the league. There's no mistake about that. And there's talent. There's talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. They play good defense. They're well coached and play good defense. So, yeah, that window is very close to being shut here. All right, let's move on to the next several selections here in Headley's mock draft. 15th overall pick, you have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Jared Verse, edge from Florida State.
Of course he does.
And wrapping up the top half of the first round, you have Anton Harrison, offensive tackle from Oklahoma, landing in New England.
Yeah, Jared Verse, Florida State, man. This guy, another one. We had Jermaine Johnson last season, transfer over, put up big numbers, and then Jared Verse transferred from Liberty. And as soon as you saw him that first game against LSU, you knew it was going to be a problem, man. He just super disruptive as a pass rusher, and he could help in the run game as well. The Falcons, they got Ebiketie last season. They did some good things, but guess where they are on the sack? They're second to last in sacks still. They've always been at the bottom 5 in sacks. So you get a guy that can get after the quarterback, put him with Ebiketie, and let's get to like in the middle of the pack in sacks. So I like Jared Verse in Atlanta. Yeah, at the bottom, you can't be at the bottom of the season, man. So I like Jared Verse.
Real quick, bro.
Anton Harrison.
Hold on, before you get to Harrison, real quick. I need you to put out the disclaimer, bro. Yeah, 2 disclaimers you got to put out, bro. Here, bro. Hey, you a Falcon fan? And what's the other one? Hey, you a what?
Seminoles.
Okay, all right. Just want to put it out there, bro. So everybody know what's going on.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful right there. And then, Anton Harrison, big guy, packs an initial punch. He's very solid in small spaces. The game against Felix Uzama, Kansas State, that's what really made me look at him differently. Because I saw him last season. I thought he was pretty, he's all right. But when I watched him shut down Felix, I was like, yeah, this guy's a problem. He's improved. His base is improved. I know, Drew, you got a problem with his hands, right? Getting his hands in the right place. But, I think New England, they want to play physical. They want to run the football with Stevenson and Harris, and they need some help along the offensive line. So I like Anton Harrison here. And I think I put another thing in the underneath that Broderick Jones also will be a good fit in New England if they don't like Harrison.
Sure. Harrison just recently declared. He's underclassman, but he's declared for the draft. You think about what New England did last year in the first round. Surprise, shocked everybody, right? Cole Strange, good player. Wasn't expecting him in the first round. Of course, he's looked terrific this year, just as New England planned it. Of course, New England has some other issues, right? We can talk about the personnel. We can have a conversation about the personnel. The decision at offensive coordinator makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me why Matt Patricia is calling the play.
It makes perfect sense, bro.
Does it? Yeah. Does it really?
Yeah, Bill wants to be in charge, bro. I think you don't really want to bring anybody in that's not familiar with what they do over there. Well, what is it?
Sure.
The program, right? So you bring a guy in who's been there, doesn't necessarily need to run the thing that he's been running since he was there before. So let's just switch the sides of the ball and hey, I mean, he's coach defense. I mean, he can coach offense.
Why not promote from within then? Why don't promote a position coach or what have you?
It's the Belichick way, bro. Whatever the hell that it means, bro. Whatever that means.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's mixed feelings about Mac Jones and his billing as a first rounder, what have you. Again, we can talk about some of the deficiencies in the personnel. I don't think the personnel is so terrible that they can't be a better offense, right? You know what I mean? That they can't be more competent. And there was some very encouraging flashes from Mac Jones last season when, albeit he's not a very good head coach, in my opinion, but Josh McDaniels has proven to be a quality offensive coordinator, right? He, quality. I'm not suggesting that he's a world beater, but certainly a quality one. And that offense looks worse this season. You know what I mean? You expect your young quarterback to take a step, and that hasn't happened. You know what I mean? And some of it is ultimately part of Mac Jones's culpability, but I think the decision to bring in Patricia is problematic. That being said, it's hard to argue with bolstering the offensive line. Now you got Harrison, who's really talented, he's a bit of a dancing bear in his own right. You put him next to Cole Strange, for all intents and purposes, and you got a really impressive side of your offensive line there. So I do like the pick in the grand scheme of things. All right, moving right along with Hadley's 2023 mock draft. This conference championship week mock draft. You have Brian Branch, the little talked about Brian Branch safety out of Alabama, going to Seattle with their second of 2 first-round selections, followed by, I know a guy that you love, you've been banging the drum for him, Headley, Brandon Dorless, defensive lineman, going to the Chargers to bolster that run defense in particular.
Yeah, I love both of these players, man, and it's because they're complete. You know, Brian Branch is a player, like you said, no one's really talking about him. You know, they talk about Will Anderson, Toa Toa. They even talk about, Jordan Battle, Hellum,
Brian Young,
Malachi Moore. They have a lot of safeties, Brian Young. And the guy is just all around coverage ability, tackling ability. He's always in the right place. He could blitz. He's very aware. He's got a lot of qualities that I think could help the Seahawks defense. They also got some corners later, Kobe Bryant and Woolen, that's really balling right now. So you add a guy like Branch in that secondary, also could come down and help the run defense. I like Branch over here in Seattle. And then Brandon Dorless. Oh, man, I'm going to keep talking about this guy. The movement ability, he's 290, but he kind of moves like he's 250 almost. Yeah. And he could do the shoulder dip. He could stuff the run. He could get after the passer. Just all-around complete talent. I'm not sure why people aren't talking about him. Or maybe it's the West Coast. The West Coast guys kind of don't get as much love, but this guy's a baller, man. And the Chargers, they need somebody to stop the run because they haven't been able to do that in quite some time, and I think Dorless will be the answer for that.
All right. Keep trucking along here in Headley's mock draft. 19th and 20th picks. Tampa Bay going Andre Carter. Drew, obviously, I'd like your thoughts on this selection. Talented edge out of the Army. I was going to say the Naval Academy. Out of Army. And then cornerback Keely Ringo. Really talented player out of Georgia, landing in Washington.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear about Carter also because he's a guy that plays for Army. Doesn't get much national attention, but I think as this draft process continue and people get to see more of him, they're gonna like what he does as a pass rusher. He stands up, he comes off the edge, fast, ferocious. He gets after the quarterback, and they don't have JPP anymore. Shaq Barrett is coming off of an injury. I know that you got your boy from Washington, Joe. The guy
you just call him JTS.
Tryon
Shlenka. Yeah,
Tryon. There you go.
Shlenka. Yeah.
So just add Joe Tryon Shlenka with Andre Carter off the edge and get after the quarterback, man. I know the Bucs need some help at the offensive line position. They're gonna have to start thinking about quarterback position pretty soon, also. But let's get back to that championship Bucs defense, man. Let's get back to that.
You don't want that, bro. You don't want that.
Oh, Ringo?
Yeah,
you don't want that?
No. He's talking about your NFC South leanings. You don't want the Bucs defense getting back to affecting the passer. You know what I'm saying? Kicking your Falcons head in. That's what he's getting at. That's what he's getting.
No, we're just gonna run the ball.
That's right. That's exactly what they're gonna do.
We don't pass anyways.
With Cordero.
Before you get to Ringo, Drew, your thoughts on Andre Carter and that fit in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think he would be a good fit because he can stand up. He can he plays both stand up and his hand in the ground. And they get cute with him sometimes, drop him in the coverage. I don't like it. I'd rather him rushing the passer. Has good hands, good jump off the ball, and he is a high motor. And I think obviously that's. And I don't know if that's him. Him before he got there to Army, but obviously then there ain't gonna be no slouches out there in Army. That's not. I'm assuming that's not a thing there. It doesn't exist. So I think it would be a good fit, but. Here, bro, I'm going to get my guy, bro. You know my guy? My number 2 quarterback overall? That's who I'm drafting right here. But we'll leave it there. Go ahead.
With Jaron?
Yeah. Jaron would already be off the board according to Drew. He ain't half-stepping when it comes
he's going number 2.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. All right. Keely Ringo, Washington.
Yeah, he was my cornerback 1 coming into the year before I laid my eyes on Christian Gonzalez. Keely Ringo, he kind of checks a lot of boxes also. He's big. He's kind of like Gonzalez being big, fluid, fast, ball skills, but the main separator for me is Gonzalez's ability to tackle, to come up and hit. I think Ringo is missing that. Also, I seen when we watched the Cedric Tillman game, Tillman caught a lot of passes on comeback routes and was able to elude him. I think Ringo just needs to tighten that up. He got to play more aggressive, play with more dog in him, get guys on the floor. So that's the biggest issue I have with Ringo. But I think he'd be a great fit in Washington. Washington coming into the year, they had William Jackson and Fuller. You thought that, they're pretty good. William Jackson is no longer there. It's an issue. So I think Ringo could fill that William Jackson position at corner.
All right.
Real quick with Ringo,
sure.
I think that watching him, when you watch him and you think about everything that he has in terms of the traits, the way he plays, you think he's a man corner, and I actually think he's a better zone corner where he can sit, watch, and react versus being real physical, because that's part of his game, and he's a little feisty, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards down the field. I know in college that you can get a little, you can get away with stuff, and they allow stuff to happen down there. But in the league, that's something I think he's gonna have to clean up. But I actually think he might be a better zone. I think he play both, but I think he might be a better zone corner. I think you might get more out of him playing in a zone, more zone heavy defense. But
sure, more elements of cover 3 and cover 2.
Yep.
I hear you. The thing about zone, and I mean, I'm not suggesting that it's not important to be able to tackle, regardless of what scheme. As a corner on the boundary, you need to set an edge. You need to stick your nose in there, right? But in zone in particular, in any team that's playing cover 2, you better be able to tackle. You have to be able to tackle. Absolutely. So, and an area for him certainly to improve upon. Moving on in Headley's mock draft. We have the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd selections here. Quentin Johnston, receiver from TCU, big play threat, landing in Baltimore. Very interesting landing spot there. I think he's going to fit, the archetype that they look for typically in Baltimore. Trenton Simpson, second-level defender from Clemson, landing in New York. And Joey Porter Jr., very talented corner. He just recently declared, so he obviously will be in the 2023 NFL draft class. You have him going 23rd overall to Cincinnati, Headley.
Yeah, Quentin Johnston. It seems like every year I mock a receiver to the Ravens. It's kind of like the Packers, man. Like, the Ravens have been actually doing it. They drafted Rashad Bateman, Hollywood Brown. But Quentin Johnston is a different specimen, man. He's a big physical guy, could win above the rim. I think that's what Lamar Jackson needs. He got those Duvernays and Bateman and
Crochets of the world.
Guy that could go down the field, crochets. He need a guy you can just throw it up to. You don't got to be really, really accurate. Quentin Johnston put it in his vicinity. He tracks the football really well. And just like those other Ravens receiver, once the ball is in his hands, he can take it the distance. So I like Quentin Johnston over there helping out Lamar. Trenton Simpson in New York. I just want to see him fly around in that Robert Saley's defense, man. I think it's a great fit for him. Yeah, man. The front four do their thing, and you're free just to roam and hit and teleport to ball carriers. So I like Trenton Simpson there. And then Joey Porter. Yeah, I did it. Because he's a heck of a player, physical, but just imagine his dad playing in Pittsburgh, and then the Bengals drafted him.
Bruh.
You know what I'm saying? The arch rival Bengals.
Bro, you causing strife in the house, bro. Come on, bro. What you doing?
Yeah, man. I want to see it, man, because the Bengals, they're a team that got to the Super Bowl last season, and you're going to play Mahomes and Josh Allen every year if you want to get back to the Super Bowl.
Two are now.
So
Two are coming. Two are coming.
Oh, yeah, two are there?
Yeah.
You got Herbert there, too. You got a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's some talent. It's definitely some talent.
So you need to cover. You need to cover, man. So Cincinnati should try to get somebody in the secondary. And Joey Porter, man, he fits, man. Physical. How he closes to the football. That's what I'm really impressed with. You might get a little separation from him, but he's going to close quickly and break passes up.
Drew, Headley went with Keely Ringo as the second corner off the board. I believe you have Porter over Ringo. Why is that?
Headley said it. He's long, he's physical. He can play both. And not that Keely can't, but he can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He's a competitor. He's gotten beaten a couple of games, but he came back. He's Joey Porter. He knows himself. He has that talked about it earlier in terms of his dad. He has that NFL pedigree, and then the recovery speed. I don't know, man. There's something different about him when I think about other corners outside of maybe Christian Gonzalez. There's something different that the way he carries himself, bro, and that may come from his dad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. To me, it's easy, man. There's a clear separation between Joey Porter and Keely Ringo. Joey Porter is a lot closer. He's touching.
Christian Gonzalez.
And Keely Ringo, there's some space there, bro. There's some yardage, bro. There's a first down. There's 10 yards to go, bro. You know what I'm saying? With a penalty, a holding penalty, bro.
Oh man,
bro. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So
I like it.
To each his own. I don't agree. I don't agree with it, but I understand what you're saying. Because I think Gonzalez, his separation from the rest, I like Gonzalez.
It's more substantial. It's more substantial. Yeah. I'm impressed. I mean, watching Ringo, I mean, you can see he has the goods, right? Just watching him, the eye test, he has the goods. Joey Porter gives you more, right? There's more dog. I see more dog in Joey Porter. Snap in and snap out. That doesn't mean that Ringo doesn't crank it up from time to time, but Joey Porter is dialed in every play. He contests everything. Nothing comes easy. He's not going to win them all. No corner will. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, Christian Gonzalez might win more reps than compared to Ringo or Porter. But I just love the competitiveness, that Joey Porter brings to the table. All right.
Getting there. Production you want there too as well.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see this year. He's missing that, but I'll take it, bro. I'm good.
All right. The next three selections here in Headley's 2023 NFL mock draft, the second iteration of his mock drafts thus far. You have the New York Giants, New York Football Giants selected Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame, very talented prospect. Followed by the Denver Broncos going with John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota to address that interior of their offensive line. Denver, obviously, they're getting that pick from San Francisco. That goes back to the Trey Lance situation, if I'm not mistaken, rigmarole. And then with the 26th overall pick, Tennessee adding to their receiver room with Rashee Rice, Drew's guy from SMU.
Yeah, Michael Mayer. I know the Giants fans, they're in need of a receiver. They probably really want a wide receiver, but the talent, man. Yeah, he's right there. He's right there. But the talent of Michael Mayer, nah, he's not. And Tony's not there either. So they definitely need a wide receiver. But Michael Mayer, he can catch passes and block. He can do both. He's one of those tight ends, those wide tight ends. Line them up right there. He's going to help in the run game for Saquon Barkley, but also help catch passes, whether it's Daniel Jones or another quarterback. I'm not sure, but he can catch the football. What I really like about him is the top of his routes, the physicality he wins with, because it doesn't look like he's moving too fast, and he doesn't look like he's getting a lot of separation, but he catches the ball well in traffic, and he's very physical at the stems, so he creates just enough space to be a security blanket for the quarterback, and then once he gets the ball, man, the physicality he runs with after the catch is amazing. The Broncos going with John Michael Smith. This is a team that I just envision that zone scheme. I think this guy's one of the best zone blocking offensive linemen in the draft. The ability to get to the second level. The Broncos, once they get Javonte Williams back, I think got to run the football because Russell Wilson, I don't know about that guy. What happened to that boy? Because
what happened to that boy?
I'm not sure. So we got to run the football in Denver and play defense, man. I think that's how they're going to have to win football games. And I think Michael Smith is a great fit in that scheme. And then Rashee Rice, Drew's guy, physical. The Titans, how they like their receivers, man. Yeah. Rashee Rice fits that. Physical before the catch, physical after the catch. You can stack receivers. Add in with Treylon Burks. It's almost Malik Willis time. It's getting closer and closer. So we need to surround him with some weapons.
Yeah, I will push back slightly on the Michael Mayer pick. Nothing wrong with the player. In fact, I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I will say this though. I just want to put this out there for the Giants fans. I think they like Daniel Bellinger. He had an unfortunate injury. He was coming on. He was coming on. He was one of those rare instances of a rookie tight end making an immediate impact. He was becoming a pivotal part of that offense. Absolutely. And I think he'll be back. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was a very unfortunate injury. I think it was a kind of an orbital bone situation with his eye. Very, very strange injury. But the way he was coming on, and I think how highly they think of him, may push the Giants in a different direction. Obviously, this is your mock draft, and adding Michael Mayer to the tight end room isn't a bad move at all. Don't get me wrong. I think they just need some more oomph and size on the perimeter. That's my personal opinion on it, but certainly understand the selection. Drew, do you want to get in and talk about
real quick?
Yeah,
so let's just assume here, let's live in fantasy land. It's not too far from a fantasy because he went to there, if I'm not mistaken, he went to the facility today. Odell Beckham, right? So let's just imagine he goes back to New York, signs the deal. He's there for however long they sign him for, which will probably be a couple of years because they're talking about he just wants to feel loved. That's a place he came from.
He does.
You know what I'm saying? So
he's one of those.
Let's imagine they get him. We can go ahead and kick Kenny Galladay to the curb, and now we have a Bellinger, and now you have a Michael Mayer, now you have an Odell Beckham. What does that look like, right? That's crazy, bro. That's unfair almost, right? Because now you have a guy who's gonna catch touchdown passes. You're gonna have a guy who can make people miss, scare defenses, and Odell, and then you have and the guy catching touchdown passes is Bellinger, and then you have a Michael Mayer who's just a mismatch, just period, doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody has a Chauncey Gardner Jr. on their team to cover the tight ends, so that's an interesting game. And then you talk about Dable, who's, you know what I'm saying, throw a Dable in,
mad scientist.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that look like? You know what I'm saying? That's scary and crazy for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake Wright.
Yeah.
Rasheed Rice there for the Giants.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice for the Giants.
Regardless if they got Odell or not.
Right, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, your hypothetical is interesting, Drew. I think I'd be obviously more in favor of perhaps going Michael Mayer here. Again, I don't want to take anything from Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer to me is clearly tight end one. I know some people might push back against that, including our friend Jake. But Michael Mayer's tight end one for
me. You got Kincaid one? You got Kincaid one?
No. I don't think it's Kincaid. I love Kincaid though, by the way. But I don't know that it's Kincaid.
Your other boy.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. But with that being said, under those circumstances, Drew, I think the Michael Mayer pick obviously is more palatable for me in particular. I want to add another layer to this conversation before we move on. So we've talked about the 24, 25th, and 26 selections here. Rasheed Rice, to Jake's point, to your point, Drew, would be nice there, assuming you don't have a Beckham. Even if you do have a Beckham, quarterback. It started off nice. They were able to protect him. They were running the football very well. Saquon was leading the league in rushing. They were playing great defense. As the season has gone on, it's become more tough sledding for the running game. The defense hasn't been quite as stout, and the pressure, the pendulum has swung back to Daniel Jones, and he is not playing at a high enough level. Albeit there's some issues with the weapons. I mean that's a legitimate caveat, but the offensive line has played much better this season. Right? Yeah. And I am not convinced. So even if it doesn't happen in the first round, I think the Giants have to consider adding a quarterback. I think they have to. And again, if a guy like Anthony Richardson is there, I wouldn't be. To me, it's perhaps worth rolling the dice on, right? To see if you can kind of catch lightning in a bottle at that point, because I'm just not convinced on Daniel Jones. I understand that there's been some mitigating factors that didn't always give you the best ability to evaluate him. But like I said, this team has been overachieving because of their ability to control the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, right? When it comes down to it, and they had to work through some receivers combinations, and they seemingly have found, rediscovered Darius Slayton. He doesn't invoke confidence as far as I'm concerned. What do you guys think about perhaps going quarterback here in New York?
I mean, if you're talking going to
I'm not mad at that.
I would almost. So here's my thing. Anybody who takes Anthony Richardson, right? That's probably a 2-year project before you actually will see what you want to see on a more consistent basis.
Right.
You might be and listen. I'm a talk out the side of my neck here, man. You might be better off going Will Levis if you're talking immediate, more of an immediate impact because of what you have in terms of the weapons. Anthony Richardson, in my opinion, if he's able to round out into what we think he is, it's a slam dunk, bro. No questions. It's just that the division that you're in, you have an opportunity to actually win. You got a shot to make a run with this team if they continue to play the way that the Giants are playing. Unfortunately, you're in a tough division. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But if you can push the envelope and you put Will Levis on a team, because a lot of the issues with Will Levis, a lot of it's on him, but a lot of it is the team around him. And if you put him on the Giants, what does that look like, right? And you giving him to Dable again. You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about?
I think Dable certainly is part of that calculus in terms of mitigating whatever our concerns might be with Will Levis, but that still leaves some question marks regarding the supporting cast, right? It still leaves some question marks there. You know what I mean? Okay. That's the reason why I'm hesitant. And I'll be frank with you. You know, even though both players have had peaks and valleys, I am much more encouraged what I've seen from Anthony Richardson to this point. I mean that's the way I feel about that. What about you, Headley? What about you?
I'm gonna break the tie, man. I'm gonna go Anthony Richardson also. I can't do Will Levis, man. He might prove me wrong. He's not in my first round. And you say, what does the Giants look like with Will Levis? It might be Daniel Jones 2.0. It might be the same thing.
Wow.
So yeah, I'd rather go with the upside with
Anthony Richardson.
I hear you. That's that damn mayonnaise in the coffee. Will Levis, you did it, bro. Nobody tell you to do that, bro. I tried, bro. I tried to help you, bro. And I'm a Gator fan. Just so that you
did try. You did try. All right. No 27th pick here with Miami, forfeiting that pick for tampering. Cam Smith, very, very talented cornerback. I'm sure some folks will have him as cornerback 1, cornerback 2.
Possible,
yeah. In their respective rankings. You have him landing in Dallas. That's a formidable duo with Trayvon Diggs, considering how well he's played this year, last 2 seasons.
But I heard the rumors.
Yeah, Cam Smith. I think he might go higher than this, man. I think. You talked about the corners earlier, Gonzalez. I think it's Gonzalez, but I think Cam Smith is in that conversation with Porter and Ringo. I think he's that talented. Just the physical nature he plays with, the fire. You know, Diggs can do the cute stuff on the outside and jump passes and get those interceptions. But Cam Smith's up there to click, close, lay the boom, play physical. And I just love him all around as a player. The game against Tennessee, when they put him in the slot against Hyatt, they put him 10 yards deep because, you know, they didn't want Hyatt to run by him.
Sure.
And then he was able to click and close and contest and break up passes. Like, it was just incredible to me, man. The skill set that he possesses to click and close and even 10 yards off the line of scrimmage and still get there, man. So I think Dallas, I think he'd be a great fit with Dan Quinn and those boys in Dallas.
Bro, I said it before the season started. I said he is cornerback slot 1, bro. Like that might be his home, bro. That may be it. Watching his tape, bro, that might be where he needs to live because of what Ellie just said, bro.
Yeah, and I mean that position is so indispensable now. Whether you call it the star, the striker, whatever you call it, it is indispensable in this 11 personnel league that we now operate in. And you know, we talked about how things are cyclical. And offenses are rediscovering, you know, power and gap running concepts. You're going to need corners. You're going to need defensive backs who can tackle. You know what I'm saying? Guys are starting to, you know, put fullbacks on their rosters again. You're going to need people who can tackle. And Cam Smith certainly can do that. With the 29th and 30th picks, you have Buffalo selecting Bijan Robinson, getting that running back position, I guess, solidified. I you know, between Singletary, James Cook, they trade for Nyheim Hines, who hasn't necessarily been part of the offense. I think you have a good mix there, but Bijan Robinson completely changes the complexion of that offense if you add him to the mix. And then Josh Downs, a guy that also found his way into Drew's first round, his latest mock in the first round, a guy that's really grown on the Couch Potato general manager group here. Your thoughts on these 2 picks, Headley?
Yeah, the Bijan Robinson, the Bills. I understand you say you got Devin Singletary, you drafted Cook last year, but it's the Bills. They want a running back. You know, you get a guy like Bijan Robinson that could do what Singletary, Cook, Hines, it can do everything in one. and you don't have to take him off the field. I know Singletary, he got a contract. His rookie contract's about to end soon. So let's go get the all-purpose back, Bijan Robinson. Right here I wrote, he can make guys miss like Saquon. He dominates in the open field like Reggie Bush, and he can catch and run between the tackles like Christian McCaffrey.
Is that David? I should put up that David Montgomery graphic. I should put up that David Montgomery graphic when they said the boys had the feet of Le'Veon, had this, that, and the other. But no, but I mean, but but Bijan is a star, man. He is a star, and to your point, he can make it happen in every facet of the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, it's about to be in that Buffalo offense with Josh Allen. They've been looking for the running back, man. They've been trying and I think they go for it. They might even trade up to get Bijan Robinson.
Secure up, yeah.
And then you got you got to secure. And then you got Josh Downs. I'm just thinking about the offense. They've been going to a more passing offense, and then you add him with Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen's getting a little older. I know you brought in T.J. Hawkinson. Good trade right there. But Cook, Downs, and Jefferson, you could score on any given play with those three players. Downs' ability to win vertically, the one-on-ones, it's just the route pace. That's what stands out with him, the route pace. You never know, is he going inside? Is he going outside? Is he going deep? Is he coming back? Defenders are guessing against him. So I think him and Jefferson would be a great combination for Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. Your last two selections in this mock draft, Headley, you have the aforementioned Jalen Hyatt landing in Kansas City. So we're gonna inject some more speed into that offense. And your guy, another one of Headley's guys, another one of those guys that he's planting his flag on, and that's Drew Sanders, a linebacker from Arkansas, going to Philly with the second of their 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt, you know, although I love Cedric Tillman more as an all-around receiver, I'm just thinking about the Chiefs, what they're trying to do. You're trading for Tony. You got Juju Smith, guys that could play on the inside. We want the speeder, the guy on the outside. Yeah, MVS, you get him out of there, man. Let's Jalen Hyatt. Let's get him out of there, bro. Get him out of there, bro. Let's insert Jalen Hyatt right there. Beat defenders deep, the speed, it's a mismatch out there. Him and Patrick Mahomes, you thought him and Hendon Hooker was something? Imagine him and Patrick Mahomes together.
Yeah.
And then you got Drew Sanders. This is my guy. This is my guy, man. I think I got defensive line earlier. I think it was Miles Murphy in Philadelphia.
Yep.
But the middle of the defense, Eagles has been missing that linebacker for some time now, and Drew Sanders is just. This guy, he's going to work harder than everyone. You know, he could play as the versatility, off-the-ball linebacker. He gets to the ball. He comes with bad intentions, you know, physical. I just think that Drew Sanders is going to be a steal for anybody who drafts him, and he could one day lead the NFL in tackles.
I saw a stat on Twitter, and I forget who it was. These 2 players coming out of college, they did this number of tackles, whatever it was. And the other player that was in that conversation was Drew Sanders, and the other player I think was Khalil Mack, if I'm not mistaken. I got to find that tweet.
That's good company.
And I was like,
whatever they're talking about. I know you don't have the exact details, but whatever you're talking about, if you're mentioning the same breath as Khalil Mack, that is very good company. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for Headley's mock draft, man. You know, guys, make sure you let him know. I mean, of course, Jake has let you know, and I appreciate that. Appreciate you, Jake.
Let me know.
But absolutely, let Headley know what he got right, what he got wrong, and take a look. Juxtapose that against what Drew did last week in our Thanksgiving Black Friday edition of a mock draft. So definitely check that out. More mock drafts to come, more scouting reports, more rankings to come. All things.
We gotta do a head-to-head mock.
Absolutely. That's on the way.